Assalamu alaikum, this is Dr. Mona Idrisi, author of the Muslim Narcissist book and empowerment coach for Muslims. In today's podcast, I will be addressing the long-term celibacy crisis of empaths. Now, this podcast has been in very high demand by a lot of people, so alhamdulillah, I've got around to doing it today, and I wanted to release it now after the subjects of dealing with narcopaths and psychopaths and all of that, so that people can understand why we have a high number of people, men and women. This podcast is for men and women who prefer to stay single so that they don't go through all of that abuse. Maybe they've been through that abuse before and don't want to go through it again. Or they are people who have heard of this abuse from YouTube, from friends, family members, and they are terrified of jumping into a marriage in which they get abused. And then you have other people who feel forced to stay single and celibate as empaths because there's simply no one to marry, right? There's a huge shortage of empaths and it's really hard to find like-minded people, and so people feel forced to live a long life of celibacy, which is a huge problem. As always, I'd like to kindly ask you to like, share and subscribe to this channel. If you haven't already, please do share the podcast with people whom could really benefit from this information. And if you'd like more of it, then just click on the bell icon and you'll be notified every time I drop a podcast about related content. And if you need one-to-one counselling and coaching about any of the subjects I speak about in my channel, just drop me an email to the address below. It's in the description, with just a brief outline of your case, and inshallah I'll get back to you with information about the sessions and programs. So, okay, let's jump into this subject, which is not going to be an easy subject to speak about today, but I will try and navigate it as best as I can, and I will also try my best to answer a lot of questions that I've received via my Instagram page and also via email about this particular subject. So this podcast is about the empaths who are God-fearing, okay? The empaths who are single long-term and they refrain from haram relationships and they refrain from, any kind of sexual contact with other people. So we're talking about people who are going through a real struggle here, okay? A real hardship. And these people might be people who have been married previously and empaths who have never married before. So I'm going to break everything down, inshallah, in this podcast and explain to you why these empathic people tend to be single and what are the consequences of that. Okay, what are the hardships that they go through that make this a real difficult trial? And inshallah, it's not all doom and gloom. At the end of the podcast, inshallah, I will explain to you how empaths can make full use of this and why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put them in this situation where they haven't come across the right person to marry and live what they consider to be a normal life. So empaths are very different from narcissists and many codependents because they have no fear of being alone. Narcissists are always jumping from relationship to relationship. They never take the time out to heal, and neither do toxic codependents. And one of the major differences between the actions of empaths and these people is that these people tend to not care about the halal and haram rulings when it comes to relationships. So they need to get their needs met by any means possible. So if that means that a narcissistic man has a unlawful relationship with someone because he cannot afford to get married at the time, then so be it. He really won't care about your spiritual well-being in this situation because he's out for himself. He is out to get his source of supply, and that could be sex, it could be a place to stay, it could be money, it could be anything, right? It could be attention. Long-term source of supply can always be long-term attention and affection and having someone who is obsessed and in love with him. So narcissists don't have any issues finding other sources of supply after a relationship has ended because they simply don't care about halal and haram. And this can be a major issue to lots of empaths because they see a narcissist move on, they see a narcissist get whatever they want, right? They get their sexual needs fulfilled, they get their emotional needs fulfilled, they get their doses of attention, and they have the company that they require without any hassle. Even if it's with another narcissist, it doesn't matter. They have the ability to find other people to fill the voids within them, unlike empaths. Empaths are very picky about who they let into their lives. And so it always looks like the narcissist is better off because they are not suffering in the same way God-fearing empaths do. Okay, so empaths are like, well, they've just moved on with their life. They don't care about me. They're not fighting, to save the relationship, because they can go on and get their needs fulfilled in so many unlawful ways. And in many cases, many empaths can become very bitter about this. So if they find out that maybe they have been living with a narcissist and this person is problematic, maybe they're a man-child or a woman-child, then what they will do is they will put in extra efforts to try and make this relationship work, not because they're weak, but because they know that if they were to get a divorce from that person who is problematic, then they might spend a very long period of time alone and single, because it's very difficult to trust people again. It's very difficult to find good people to marry, and they don't want to suffer. They don't want to suffer long term being alone. Now, if you are in a relationship where you want to leave, but you're too scared to leave because you're worried about not finding someone afterwards, maybe you've heard so many horror stories about Muzmatch and all of these online apps and, all these stories about people being unable to find a suitable husband or a suitable wife. It can really put you off leaving a toxic situation because you worry about being single long term, like being a single mom, being a single dad, and not being able to find someone who is good for you afterwards, because you hear it from everyone how difficult it is now to find someone to marry. So a lot of people will stay in a toxic marriage for that reason, alone, okay? They're too terrified of being alone long term like their family members are. They're seeing the empaths in their families. They're seeing the empaths amongst their friends. They've been unmarried for over 10 years and they don't want to be in that situation. They would rather suffer and try and make the marriage work, even if it means that they suffer, but they have a family to go back to, okay? People with this mindset are codependents. They're not empaths. I just wanted to make that clear, because only a codependent would tolerate abuse out of fear. Okay, out of fear of what could happen in the future. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who knows what's going to happen in the future. We don't know. Some people have left a toxic marriage and subhanAllah met someone straight after their iddah, or even during their iddah. Some man just turned up and he was amazing. He waited until her iddah was over and they got married. Wallahi, I've seen cases like that. And some people have come out of a marriage, a toxic marriage, and they've been single for a very long time, years and years and years. And many of us will leave a toxic situation out of hope that we will find someone who is another empath, right? Someone who is God-fearing and has all the qualities that we desire in a partner now that we've learned, right? Now that we've learned to never brush red flags under the carpet. Now that we've learned what to look for. Now that we've learned what to prioritize and what's important. We've learned our lessons from a horrible situation. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not written it for us to get married. So some people may spend many years being single after coming out of a toxic marriage, and then the resentment starts to build up for the narcissist. And this is why a lot of empathic people cannot move on post-divorce. And again, I'd really like to make this clear. I'm not talking about high-level empaths here. I'm talking about low-level empaths. I'm going to come back to high-level empaths in a moment, but this is really important for you to understand, because low-level empaths, they get really lonely, and even after a toxic relationship, they really long to have someone in their life, and they can become very depressed as a result of not having a partner. So these are empaths who lean more towards codependency because they rely on other people for their happiness. They believe that, I cannot fully be happy and content with my life. I cannot be fully normal if I don't have that family. And I cannot be fully complete if I don't have a partner whom I can spend the rest of my life with. Okay, so low-level empaths suffer from this anxiety, and all codependents suffer from this anxiety. But the low-level empaths are just more picky about who they get into relationships with, unlike codependents who will just take a quick deep dive into the narc pool. They don't care if they're narcissists, and they don't care if these people have shown every red flag under the moon and the sun. It doesn't matter to them. They just want to experience marriage. They just want to have someone. They don't want to be lonely. They're terrified of being alone. Codependents are the people who will jump into a marriage with someone who is a blazing red flag just because they are dying to experience marriage. They are dying to have love and validation, and they believe that they can only be happy when they're married. They believe that they can only be a somebody in society if they're married. They feel like a failure if they don't get married by a certain age. So sometimes women and men, when they get to a certain age and they're unmarried, they'll just accept anybody. They don't care. Only to be so brutally abused after that they obviously regret it, but they would have had to go through that kind of abuse to understand that you can't be taking risks like that just for the sake of being married, just for the sake of, showing everyone that you are capable of being married and that you're lovable and that you're wanted and that you can have children. It's not worth the risk. But a lot of codependents, no matter what you tell them, you can advise them until the cows come home. You can point out every red flag in someone to help them avoid that person. But if a codependent puts it in their head that I'm going to get married by hook or by crook, they're going to do it. You have to let a lot of people learn their lessons. If you have friends and sisters and brothers and you can see that they're just jumping into the lion's den by marrying this person and they are insisting on it, let them learn that lesson. Okay, don't get depressed over it. Don't get stressed over it. Just let them learn that lesson. They have a lesson to learn because they are heavily codependent. So that's the difference. Codependents will jump into relationships with toxic people knowingly. Okay, they know that there are people who are so toxic, but because of the desperation that they have for getting married, they don't care. Now, the majority of codependents who are not desperate, but they want to get married, they will just ignore red flags. And they'll ignore them because they don't understand that they're red flags. For example, some man who, displays excessive jealousy and excessive controlling behavior, it might be normal for them. It might be normal for a codependent to see those kinds of behaviors and dismiss them as being normal because they grew up in that kind of environment where their fathers were like that, their brothers were like that. So the majority of codependents who are young, they will ignore red flags because they've been normalized. Whereas codependents who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s plus, they may have matured enough to understand that there are toxic behaviors that people are presenting, but you know what? I don't care. I don't even care if I get divorced after 2 weeks. I'm just desperate to get married. I'm just desperate to experience, sexual intimacy. I am desperate just to have someone who loves me. I don't care if I get divorced after 3 weeks or 3 months. Some people even anticipate it. They know that they're jumping into a relationship with an absolute disaster on legs, but they don't care. They are willing to go through that turbulent experience and have a quick divorce just for the sake of experiencing marriage. This is not the behavior of an empath at all. At all. You'll never find an empath doing that. The high-level empath has no fear of being alone. So they might come out of a turbulent marriage, very toxic marriage, and they will be so happy to have their freedom back, so happy to be alone. They are celebrating single life after all the rubbish that they've been through. Okay, especially if they were married to a malignant narcopath. Oh, if you listen to my last podcast, you'll understand why a lot of people would celebrate a divorce. Because sometimes getting out of a marriage like that, it's a cause for celebration. I celebrated when I came out of mine because I couldn't believe that I managed to get that freedom back. I couldn't believe that I managed to get out of such a horrid environment. I celebrated. I was so happy. I was over the moon. I didn't cry a tear when I got divorced. I just did everything that I wanted to do. Everything that he stopped me from doing, I went and did them all. I went and celebrated that way. So empathic people who come out of a toxic marriage, they don't get depressed. They don't get depressed because they are so grateful for this newfound freedom that they've managed to get back. So they don't fear loneliness at all. It's the last thing on their minds. They are more concerned with everything that they want to do to rebuild their lives, and they're just so grateful that they no longer have to live with someone like that. So jumping into another relationship out of loneliness is completely out of the question. It's an absurdity. It's complete insanity to someone who has come out of a very toxic marriage like this. They take the time to heal and they invest a lot in themselves. Okay, whether that's financially, self-care, self-love, all of that. I'll come on to all of that, inshallah, later in the podcast. And if an empath has never been married, a high-level empath, then they would be grateful that they are not going to go through everything that they have heard other people go through, all that abuse and all that unnecessary drama that they could avoid by staying single. I know a lot of people like this. They've never been married and they have no desire to be married. They actually prefer being single because of all the horror stories they keep hearing from friends and family members about marriage and having children and just all of that. They just say to themselves, you know what, I could do without that. I am prepared to live my life as a celibate empath and it's not going to bother me. They find many different things to occupy their time and things that they can do to enjoy their life. So it's out of choice. They are content with the fact that they would rather be single than marry the wrong person. And yes, it does bother them greatly that the right people do not show up. It disappoints them when they see how deadbeat so many Muslim men are and how ridiculous so many Muslim women are these days. So they see these examples, feminine men, men who don't know how to be real men, women who don't know how to be wives, women who are so immature, man children, women children, malignant narcopaths, and they just say, I'm not putting myself through that. A high-level empath will say to themselves, I will not put myself through that. I'd rather be single all my life than deal with that garbage. I'm not dealing with any of that garbage. Now, to become that kind of person, you really have to work on your iman. You have to work on your tawakkul. You have to work on your sense of self and your purpose in life and your mission. And you have to work on your confidence. Because if you have low self-esteem, you will always be hurt by people's comments and what people say. Oh, she's in her 40s. She's not married. She's got children. She's been a single mother for a very long time. Oh, he's very handsome. He's very successful. It's a shame he never got married. But they don't care. These high-level empaths don't care about what people say. Their words bounce off them because they know that they are saving themselves a lifetime of hassle because they haven't met the right person. It's not worth it. It's not worth risking your entire future and mental health, spiritual health, physical health by marrying the wrong person. Marrying the wrong person can destroy you. And so they prefer to stay single and live a celibate life. Now, a lot of people will ask, how is that possible? How is it possible for a human being to remain celibate all their lives? The answer boils down to self-discipline. Self-discipline and iman. If you have the two, you're a very powerful person. Okay? Self-discipline will not allow you to fall into haram to get your needs met that you can go without. When I say go without, I mean sexual needs are not like food and drink. So I'll give you an example. If someone was to be stranded somewhere and the only food they could eat would be pig meat It's permissible for them, Islamically, to eat the pig meat if there is nothing else to eat. Okay? It becomes halal for someone to do that. And if they don't find any water at all, and the only drink that is available for them is an alcoholic drink, then it is permissible for them to drink from that to survive. Okay, so now we're talking about survival. However, when it comes to sexual needs, there is no pass. Okay, there is no exception. There is no, if you don't find the right person to marry, you can commit zina with the nearest person who is attractive to you. No, we don't have that pass. So it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to exercise our self-discipline because we don't need sex to survive. Exceptions in the deen are only given when it comes to the survival of a human being. So sexual intercourse is for two reasons. The first reason would be to reproduce, and the second for pleasure. And so what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us here is that you will be rewarded for giving up a pleasure for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you don't need it to survive. And this is how it becomes the jihad and nafs of the empath. Okay, the empath who is God-fearing, who stays away from zina, they stay away from haram relationships. These are the people who are tested with this type of jihad and nafs because it's a pleasure you want. You want the company of someone. You want to be in a romantic relationship with someone, but you don't want to displease Allah in the process. So you give it up. And when you give it up, this becomes your jihad and nafs. And I've mentioned it before, your jihad and nafs can get you into Jannah as a martyr. So if you die as a person who has maintained the grip of holding on to your dignity and your faith and your self-discipline and everything that comes with it, to stay away from haram relationships and to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only does your nafs get elevated to the station of a nafs al-mutma'inna, but you die as a martyr. So you get Jannat al-Firdaus without any hisab, without any accounting. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that the jihad that is more difficult than the jihad of the battlefield is the jihad and nafs. And the jihad and nafs is the battle between your nafs and your qareen. Because your qareen will always be whispering to you, oh, you're so lonely. Oh, you're never going to have children. Oh, you're going to die alone. Look at everyone around you. They have everything that you don't have. Just have a haram relationship. Or marry this narcissist. Marry this man-child. You'll get thoughts like that. The empath will get thoughts like that. Because your qareen will be so terrified of your level of nafs. He's losing, right? He's got no report to take back to Iblis. He's got no report. And he's terrified. He's terrified of Iblis disciplining him because of it. So the empaths get a lot of waswas. They get a lot of these intrusive thoughts that bother them about, zina and haram relationships and all of that. But the high-level empaths just don't fall for it. They just maintain steadfast. There are loads of people who die never experiencing marriage, never experiencing love. Okay, it doesn't mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want that for them. It meant that this was their jihad and nafs that would get them to Jannah. This was their test in life. This was their struggle in life because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has withheld this from them so that He could give them the most perfect spouse in Jannah. Okay, so these are the high-level empaths and they are a minority. It's very difficult to find this level of empath. Okay, because of the self-discipline that is needed, especially in Western societies where everything is sexualized, marriage is hard, marriage is expensive, and, there are fitnas and temptations everywhere you go. So you'll find that these people keep themselves to themselves. They don't socialize much because they want to stay away from the fitna. It's already hard enough, them having this as a trial in their life. And so they try to make it easier upon themselves by not socializing very much. And that's why you'll find many of them are very, very introverted. They don't mix a lot in society with other people. And it's a way for them to restrain their sexual desires and to not be in an environment that causes them hardship. And like I said before, they may feel sadness that they don't have a life partner because it's a part of our fitrah, right? It's a part of human nature to want company and to want love and to have that, to have that romantic relationship with someone. It's natural to want that. They do feel sadness for it. They do feel sadness for the absence of it. However, they won't get depressed over it. Okay, they won't get depressed. They will be content, and they will know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saving them from something and saving them for something better. So 2 concepts here to think about. That Allah is saving you from something horrible and He's saving you for something better later. Okay, so only high level empaths have that level of tawakkul and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where they will trust that Allah knows what He's doing. That Allah knows that the right person will appear at the right time. Not when you choose, but when the right person is meant to come into your life. Sometimes that can happen and sometimes that may never happen, but there's a reason for that. And I'll talk more about this inshallah towards the end of the podcast. So needed to make that differentiation so that you understand not all empaths are the same. These are the high level empaths. Now, the majority of empaths will be low to mid-level empaths, which means that they will experience a lot more sadness and a lot more grief than the high-level empaths for being single and celibate. They will find it much harder to deal with celibacy and a lack of romantic connection with someone than they do. And loads of issues can come out of this. So like I mentioned before, the low to mid-level empaths will feel a lot of resentment towards their previous partner who walked away from the marriage. More often than not, it's, a narcissistic man-child or a woman-child, and they will feel that resentment because they know that the narcissist knows that if the narcissist walks away, the empath is going to be put in a position where they're going to be alone for a long period of time because they refuse to get involved in haram relationships. The narcissist knows this. The narcissist knows that you're going to be single for a long time because it's hard to find empathic people. So that's the first thing, the resentment towards the ex for leaving the empath in that position. Okay? And the second issue that can come out of this is that empaths can fall back into codependency. And when I say that, I mean that the depression they feel as a result of being alone makes them consider problematic people for marriage again. Okay, people who do have red flags. For example, someone might have just come out of a terrible divorce and they are so angry about what's happened to them in court. And, they're going through a terrible child custody case and it's just, there's so much stress. And these people may not come across as being narcissists, right? They're just people who are going through a lot of stress because they've just come out of a terrible ordeal or a very stressful ordeal. But the empath meets this person on an app like Muzmatch. So the empath is thinking, okay, I can help this person with their case. I can help this person heal. I can do this and I can do that for this person. So this person is now enjoying the attention. They are enjoying the attention that you're giving them because they are going through a brutal experience with the ex. And now all of a sudden, this lovely empathic person has just popped up out of the blue and making them feel good about themselves again. Okay, they might be low-level narcs. I'm not talking about high-level narcs here. I'm talking about low-level narcs who want some validation and attention. They will jump onto marriage apps with no intention to commit, no intention to get married anytime soon. They are hell-bent on destroying their ex in court for all the stress that they've been through. They don't want any of that. But when they see an empath give them the attention and validation they need, they'll milk that. And they will string it out, and they will future fake, and they will gaslight, and they will promise you so many things. We're going to get married, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. What house do you want to live in? What kind of wedding do you want? What honeymoon destination do you want? They'll give you all of that to keep you there, to keep you hanging on to the hope. Before you know it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 months passes, a year passes, 2 years pass, and there's no marriage. he or she keeps delaying you meeting their family. They are creating problems out of the blue, okay, so that you do not expect commitment from them anytime soon. And they're getting annoyed now because you're nagging them about it. When are we going to get married? This has dragged on for a long time. And now you've maybe slipped into a haram relationship with this person. So a low to mid-level empath can definitely slip into this type of codependency if you allow someone like this to take you for a ride. Because that person showed you from the very beginning that they're not healed. They're still angry. They're going through a court case. They're not even fully divorced yet. They might just be separated. The divorce is not even finalized. But the empath is really enjoying the attention that they're getting from this person as well. Because now this person is telling them, I have never met anyone like you in my life. You are my answer from God. You are heaven sent. You are this, you are that. I didn't think people like you existed anymore. And they'll give you a lot of that until you fall for them. And then you think, I found my person. Finally, after all this time, I finally found an empath. I finally found someone who is nice to me, who treats me well, who is kind, who spoils me, who buys me things, who does this, who does that. But all the while, that is a narcissist taking you for a ride because they need you at the time. They need you to get through their court case because their ego is being butchered in that court case. Okay, it's being smashed to pieces and they need a source of supply immediately during that time to feel better about themselves. A lot of empaths get sucked into this out of loneliness because you don't like being alone, you don't like being celibate, you don't like not having someone you can love and all of that. And I advise people to not watch romance movies, don't watch Netflix series, where all this romantic stuff comes up, sexual stuff comes up, pornography, all of that. Avoid it. When you're single and celibate, avoid it because wallah, the ashiq jinn will play with your head until you fall into a haram relationship that will lead to zina. So you would have started out as an empathic person and now you are being dragged to the level of narcs. And you are engaging in things and situations that you never thought you'd ever be involved in. Okay, that's what happens when you prolong your interaction with someone like this, especially when you're meeting them in person. You get used to that person and before you know it, you've slipped into a haram relationship. It's a consequence. Okay, it's a consequence because you have not healed. You have not done the work to heal yourself from the need of having someone else to validate you and your existence in this life. Okay, you are still relying on someone else to be happy. You feel like if I don't have a husband, if I don't have a wife, I can never be happy. I can never be complete. People look down upon me. Every 5 minutes you're seeing a friend or a stranger or an influencer or a family member, post their wedding pictures. Oh, I'm engaged. Oh, I've just had a baby. Oh, I've done this, I've done that. And it makes you feel really bad about yourself. And you end up feeling sorry for yourself because now you feel less than. Now you feel, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of having all of this. No one wants me. No one wants to marry me. No one wants to love me. And this comes from your waswas. And the more you hear that dialogue in your head, the more you will slip into a depression and the more likely you will be to attract the narcissistic man-child or the narcissistic woman-child. Because now you just want anyone in your life who shows you any kindness to give you that validation. And that's why a lot of empaths attract the man children and the woman children because they're actually nice. They're actually very nice when you meet them. And that's why a lot of empaths fall for them because they can mirror your empathy very well. And like I said, when you meet one of these people, the first thing that will pop into your head is, wow, there are nice people out there. There are people who want me out there. There are people who find me amazing. And so you get sucked into a relationship with one of these narcs, low-level narcs, and you go on a different ride with this person. Okay, you get abused in a very subtle way. So in this situation, in this relationship, you as the empath, the low to mid-level empath, you become the lifeline for that narc. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows this narcissist to come into your life because you are the narcissist lifeline to get better. Okay, you'll have a lot of empathy. You will have that element of, being God-fearing because you want the halal. You want the halal. You're not entering a haram relationship with this person. You're entering this relationship on the basis that you're going to get married. So Allah allows this man-child to come into your life, or this woman-child, so that you can help them get better. You're their lifeline. And Allah allows this person to enter your life because you need now to learn a lesson. You need to learn a lesson because you've not healed. And you've not healed from the insecurities within yourself that don't allow you to be alone, that don't allow you to be content in your own company. And like I said, this is a strong trait of codependence, because codependents get very depressed when they're on their own. And when you have the level of nafs of codependence, so let's say you're a low-level empath and you are inclined more to codependency, another problem that you will find is that you will really struggle with your sexual desires. And when you struggle with your sexual desires as a codependent, you will end up watching porn. You will end up engaging in a lot of self-pleasure. And you do that because you think it's the best of two evils, right? You can either commit zina or you can engage in self-pleasure and not be branded as a fornicator, okay? So I'm not a mufti, so I cannot comment on the halal and haram of this subject. But what I do know is that when people engage in self-pleasure, you attract the ashiq jinn to you. Okay, so the ashiq jinn will actually engage in it with you. And the evidence for this is in the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he said that when a man approaches his wife for sexual intercourse, he must read a dua that protects his wife and any child who would be conceived from that union from the shaitan. Now, in this situation, the shaitan would be the ashiq jinn, because the ashiq jinn is the one that is allocated for the mission of corrupting the sexuality of people. And that's why when black magic is done on a married couple and all of a sudden you find that the husband cannot sleep with his wife, or the wife absolutely detests her husband, it's because the ashiq jinn is now involved. The ashiq jinn has been sent on a specific mission to ruin the marriage of these people by creating problems in the sexual intimacy and the way that they view each other. And that's why I've said time and time again, homosexuality comes from the ashiq jinn. Okay, and when you find yourself sexually attracted to people whom you're not supposed to have those feelings for, you're afflicted by the ashiq jinn. So this is the evidence that the ashiq jinn will engage in sexual activity with you, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ said to read that dua. So when you engage in self-pleasure, you will attract this jinn to engage in it with you, male or female. Okay, the ashiq jinn could be male or female. And that's why a lot of people, they experience like sleep paralysis, or they experience sexual encounters while they're sleeping. Some women have experienced rape while they're sleeping. Some men have experienced being raped by the ashiq jinn while sleeping because they watch so much porn before they go to sleep and they engage in excessive self-pleasure. Okay, now they do this on the basis that they don't want to commit haram, they don't want to get involved in zina, so this would be the better option to save themselves from being corrupted. Okay, but this is the new problem you bring upon yourself when you are unable to restrain your desires. Now I know it's hard, because the next question would be, so what do we do, right? What do we do in that situation where we have no way to fulfill sexual desires? And the answer is, if you absolutely have to do it, because if you don't, it affects maybe other things in your life, maybe it affects your iman. People can get really grumpy, really moody when their sexual needs are not being fulfilled, especially men. They can get really aggressive, moody for no reason, and you can tell that this person is sexually frustrated. So if it's affecting your day-to-day life, what I would say, and again, don't take this as a fatwa, I'm no mufti, but the safest way would be to at least read your adhkar before you engage in anything like that, and don't allow it to be anything that's excessive. So try and minimize as much as possible the number of times you do something like that, and do not do it before you sleep. Because if you sleep in that state of janaba and you sleep in the state of sin, you may not wake up the next morning from that, right? You don't want to be in that state. So avoid it before you sleep, and perhaps read your adhkar and lessen it as much as possible. Minimize the amount of times you do something like that, because it's actually really bad for your health as well. Because you force your body to process an unnatural process. Okay, so when you are married and you engage in sexual intercourse, it's a natural process. But when you are forcing your body into releasing sexual fluids multiple times a day or countless times in the week, you're really affecting your health. You're weakening your body, because now your system has to go into overdrive to deal with it when it should be dealing with other important things like digestion. And that's why so many people who engage in excessive self-pleasure have IBS, and they have loads of digestive health problems. And scientists have also said that hair loss and weak eyesight can also come as a result of excessive self-pleasure. So it's a matter of self-discipline, okay? Protect yourself from spiritual problems and protect yourself from physical health problems. And you'll also feel the guilt and the shame of it. You'll be carrying that guilt and shame, and you'll feel even more depressed that you're not married and that you have to resort to something like this. And before you know it, you get addicted to porn. You are now afflicted with the ashiq jinn, who is now in love with you. By the way, that can happen. The ashiq jinn can cling on to you, and it can cause a woman to never get married. It can cause a man to never get married, because now the ashiq jinn wants you for themselves. You've engaged in so much self-pleasure that they're enjoying this relationship with you. It's become a regular thing. So they don't want anyone to see you as handsome or beautiful. So you'll get loads of people who reject you. They don't want to marry you. They stay away from you because they don't find you attractive. That comes from the ashiq jinn. You put yourself in that situation when you do these things excessively, when you do not repent from these regularly, and when you do not read your adhkar before engaging in anything like this. At least when you read your adhkar, you kind of get rid of some of the evil jinns around you, right? At least. It's the only thing I can say to you to comfort you, because it is a crisis. It is a problem for most people. And I know it's annoying that when you hear a podcast or an Islamic lecture and they tell you, oh, this is haram and that's haram, it's like, okay, but what's the solution? Give us a practical solution. This is the practical solution that I can give you. Because I can't tell you it's halal, but at the same time I understand that if it's not done, it can affect other areas of your life very badly. And so this would be the most balanced solution that I could give you for that. So when it comes to self-pleasure, you have to be very careful, especially if you're using objects and things like that, because when you eventually do get married to someone good, inshallah, you're going to struggle sexually with them. You're so used to self-pleasure. This is something a lot of men really struggle with, and women get used to objects. So with men, you will find that they will struggle to emotionally connect with someone during intimacy because they're used to just doing what they do, using pornography or using whatever means that they have to allow them to enjoy the experience. So they get used to not having an emotional connection with someone for a very long period of time. And this is how they achieve sexual satisfaction. So when you marry someone who has engaged in this excessively for a very long period of time, it can be very difficult to have an enjoyable sexual experience with them. Okay, because they just feel so robotic and so disconnected. That's why sexual intimacy with narcissists is not enjoyable, because they do not connect with you emotionally, because they're porn addicts. The majority of them are porn addicts. And when it comes to women who get used to using sexual toys for a very long period of time, they might struggle to be sexually satisfied by a man for obvious reasons I don't need to go into details about, okay? So you put yourself at risk of having sexual problems and intimacy later down the line if you were to meet the right person. So cut down on it to save yourselves, okay? Now, in extreme cases, and this usually happens with narcissists and toxic codependents, but empaths can slip into it as well. If people are reliant on self-pleasure and sexual toys and pornography to get them through life and their sexual desires, they may find that they start to lean towards same-sex relationships. So some people might say, you know what, I don't think I'm ever going to find a man, or I don't think I'm ever going to find a woman. And so they find that they start to become attracted to people of the same sex because they give up hope. They're like, I might as well just engage in sexual activities with people of the same gender because I don't think I'm ever going to get married. I don't think I'm ever going to find that person. And now I'm in my 40s and 50s and there's just no hope. I've got sexual needs and now I'm finding myself attracted to women or to men. And this is how a lot of narcissistic people become closet gay and closet lesbian. So it comes as a result of them not finding supply from the opposite gender. When they don't find supply and they desperately need to fill a void, guess who they're targeting? They're targeting people from the same gender. So the more you engage in sin, the more you engage with the ashiq jinn, the more likely you are to be attracted to people of the same sex. And so you'll find yourself leaning towards that. And that's how a lot of people become gay and lesbian without telling people, but it happens behind closed doors because they are afflicted by the ashiq jinn and they are in long-term celibacy. So your qareen makes a deal with the ashiq jinn to get you to that point. That's where Iblis wants you. He wants you to be homosexual. He wants you to ruin every chance of entering Jannah via jihad and nafs, via self-discipline, by tempting you to engage in these kinds of relationships and acts. Okay, that's the whole point. They work together. Your qareen works with other jinns to get you to this point. And most people get to this point because they can't stand the loneliness. They put all of their hope in future happiness, in their ability to find a husband or wife. They're not healed enough yet to understand that being alone and being single is far better than getting dragged into this swamp. Okay? They haven't healed enough to understand that. Now, another major problem that comes out of empaths not finding a partner, especially if they've come out of a toxic relationship or they've spent all their life chaste. Okay, so they've stayed away from haram relationships, but they're now seeing that they're entering their 30s and their 40s and their 50s and they're not finding that right man or that right woman. And what will happen here is your qareen will jump on that bandwagon and affect your faith. Okay, it will start to influence how you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, you will see the illusion of the narcissist moving on and being happy after a divorce, and you get really upset about it because you're alone. Okay, you're the person who's been left on their own and you are left to deal with all the broken pieces of that relationship. Maybe you feel guilty and maybe you blame yourself because the narcissist has managed to get you to believe that you are to blame for the relationship falling apart and them leaving, and so on and so forth. And a lot of these narcissists as well will tell you, oh, no one will marry you after we get divorced. No one's going to want a single mother of 3 children. No woman is going to accept a man with 4 children. Or no one's going to accept you because you have this illness or because you've put on weight or because you've got diabetes or because of this or because of that. They scare you. And they do this deliberately, 1, to keep you in a relationship, and 2, to keep you obsessing over them and allow them back in when they come to hoover you. Okay, because you're living in fear mode. And fear mode doesn't allow you to move on. Fear mode keeps you waiting for them to come back. So when they hoover you, you let them back in. Because you truly believe what they say, that there will be no man out there who is empathic who will take on a woman with 3 children. You believe it. And so it's these women who get sucked into the hoover time and time again because they believe that staying with the narcissist or going back to the narcissist is their best bet to avoid a very lonely life. Okay? So this happens, and this leads to emotional and spiritual problems. Like I said, it starts to affect how you view Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your qareen starts to influence this. So whether you've been married before or not, you will start to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why did you not send me an empathic man or an empathic woman? I've been chaste all my life. I've been religious all my life. I've been God-fearing all my life. Why is this person not turned up for me? But the narcissist can find all the partners they want. Why is it that empaths are struggling to find good people? And the reason why they have these faith issues is because they go back to a verse in the Quran that I believe a lot of scholars and a lot of preachers teach incorrectly. And that is verse 8 in Surah An-Naba, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَخَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا, and we have created you in pairs. So like Adam alayhi salam and Hawa, who were a pair, people believe that this ayah means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a soulmate for everybody. However, and Allah knows best, I don't believe that this is what the ayah means. Okay? I believe that it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created an equal number of men and women. It doesn't mean that your soulmate has been created for you and that everyone will receive their soulmate in this life. Because if that were to be true, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have made marriage an obligation. It's not a fard, it's a sunnah. And it's a sunnah for those people who can afford to get married and for those who are in good health. Okay, not everyone can and not everyone will. And marriage has not been written for everyone in their life journey. And another reason why I believe it's incorrect to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a soulmate for everyone is because marriage is a rizq and not everyone gets the same rizq. Okay, so some people will get the best wives but they have terrible fathers. Some people will have the best husbands but have terrible mothers. Rizq is not given to everyone in the same way. Okay, everyone's rizq is distributed according to the purpose and the mission of that person in their life. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might give someone money because they need money to be able to fulfill their life mission. And He may give someone a really pious, empathic husband because in order for this woman to fulfill her life mission, she needs the support of such a man. And maybe the life mission of a man requires him to have the company of a highly empathic woman who is pious. So if your life mission does not require a pious and empathic husband or wife to be there for you, by your side, throughout the whole journey, then you won't get that person. They won't come to you. Allah will send you something else instead. He will send you money, or He will bless you with great health and fitness. He might bless you with knowledge. He might bless you with lots of iman. Whatever it is that you get as your rizq, if you just sit there for 5 minutes and ask yourself, what rizq has Allah sent my way? You'll understand that that's what you need in your mission in life. I will record a podcast, inshallah, about how to identify what your purpose in life is. Okay? So, this is how it works. There is no magical soulmate. All this Hollywood, Disney stuff that we listen to as children has messed up our perception of what we're meant to receive in this dunya. Societies and cultures have set a very rigid and non-flexible list of rules and regulations and expectations from people that they are expected to meet Okay, and if they don't, they're labelled as being failures or being abnormal. So, for example, you might live in a society where all girls should be married by 24. And if a woman is 34 and still unmarried, she's branded as being abnormal. She is branded as being an old maid, right? She's branded as like various things that is not Islamic at all. This is out of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is far more merciful than all these cultural backwards people who make you feel a certain way because you haven't received a particular rizq. Who are they to say you're a failure? Who are they to say that you should live your life in accordance to the way they do because they are normal and you're not? Who are they? They are nobodies. Okay, they are people from your society who want to live life in that way. That's their problem, that's not yours. So when people judge you because a particular rizq has not been sent your way, as if it's in your hands to just magic up that wonderful husband or that wonderful wife, when they do that, they're actually committing a major sin, because this is a rizq that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses when to give it to you and if He wants to give it to you. And if He doesn't give it to you, it's not because He's punishing you. It's not because He doesn't want good for you. It's because it's not a part of your life mission. You don't need it. You think you need it, but you don't. What you actually need is to heal. Because if you heal, all your problems are solved. You are no longer lonely. You now find so many other things to do to occupy your time with that you can invest into your life mission. And you'll feel self-love and self-value and self-satisfaction from all of these things that you now do that is good for your akhirah. Okay, you've been taken away now from the depression and the despair of being lonely because you've healed. So Allah knows that the person who is good for you can only come to you, can only be sent to you once you've healed. If you haven't healed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to send you a high-level empath your way. I'm telling you, you're not going to get that person. Because when you're a high-level empath and you're healed, you want to meet healed people as well. You no longer want to deal with people's garbage. You don't want to be dealing with people's childhood traumas. You don't want to be dealing with any toxic drama in your life. And so even if you came across a high-level empath, they won't be interested in you because they'll pick up that you still have a lot of healing to do. And these people want a partner. These people want someone whom they can be a team with. They don't want someone whom they have to, work so hard to pull up. They either want to be inspired by someone or be on the same level as someone because they've done the inner work to progress with their life. Okay, so don't expect for that wonderful high-level empath to come your way if you know you've got a lot of healing to do. Allah will not send that person because those people have done the inner work. They've really worked on themselves to elevate their nafs, so they're not going to be on the same level as other people. Allah keeps them for their own kind, the same way Allah keeps the narcs for their own kind. Unhealed people will not get the rizq they want until they heal. So if you don't heal, you'll become narcissistic because now you'll become very bitter and you'll have a resentment towards Allah because of your understanding of marriage in Islam and this ayah. Or you can do the inner work and heal and elevate to the status of being a high-level empath. But don't expect to have a high-level empath while you're not healed, while you've still got toxic behavior traits, while you're still bitter about your past, while you still have a terrible relationship with your parents, while you're still in a terrible custody battle over the children with your ex, or you have an ex who's constantly calling you every 5 minutes just to create drama and problems. See, high-level empaths can't be bothered with all of that. They don't have time for all of that. They are pursuing their life mission and you're going to be a hindrance to them. You're going to be a hindrance to their progress. Now, I'm not saying this to put anyone down. Okay, I'm telling you this so that you understand the steps that you need to take to get to that level. An empath who is of high level will not last 5 minutes with a narcissist. They will pick up immediately that this person is not right. This person is toxic. This person has traits I've seen before. I'm not going there again. Okay? High-level empaths are made. They're not born. They're made. They go through a lot of experiences that teach them the hard way to never deal with narcissists again. Never give their time and energy to narcissists again. Because they are healed people who do not allow loneliness to choose partners for them. When you let loneliness choose your partner for you, you will always choose the wrong person because it's coming from a place of lack. When you choose from a place of lack, you'll always end up choosing the wrong person. You end up filling a void temporarily. You're not choosing that person because they're your right companion who will help you on your journey to Jannah. So ultimately, that is what marriage is all about. Marriage is a gift for us. Allah doesn't expect us to do it on our own. Okay? There are some people who can. There are some people who are able to walk the journey alone to Jannah. The high-level empaths. Because they're okay being alone. They feel stronger alone. They are happy alone. They are content alone. So they have full control over their qareen here. The qareen is not using depression and, sad thoughts to keep this person in constant decline. No, they have power over their qareen, so they can manage to continue on their life journey and die as warriors of their jihad and nafs. Because Allah knows that they are capable of doing that. That's why they don't need the extra help. They don't need the husband or wife. Allah compensates them in Jannah with that perfect spouse. However, someone who is not on the level of a high empath, of the person who has a nafs al-mutma'inna, the person who has full control over that qareen, they need help. So marriage is given as a blessing for those people because you can't do it alone. You need the help, you need the support. So the whole point of marriage is that you marry someone who is strong in their deen, strong in their control of their qareen, and they are knowledgeable and wise and mature enough to either lead you as a husband or to be someone who can support a husband spiritually, physically, mentally. Yeah, there's no point. That's why I say so many times as well, when you choose the wrong person to marry out of loneliness, what do you gain? You gain nothing. You haven't chosen the right person for your life journey back to Jannah. That's not a great investment. When you choose the Barbie girl who is not very practicing, she doesn't really care about the deen, or, she prays here and there, what investment is that for your life journey? That's a very poor investment. Because all she cares about is her looks and getting this surgery and buying this bag and buying those shoes and TikTok this and Instagram this. That's all she's going to care about. So ask yourself, what kind of investment is that in your future? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the gift of marriage so you can choose the right person to help you get there. So you waste a golden opportunity by choosing the wrong person to complete your life with, to complete this journey with. You want someone who's going to make it as easy as possible. When you're a woman and you choose to be with a man-child who cannot make decisions, he's not a leader, he's not a protector, and he's certainly not a provider, you are setting yourself up for failure in that life journey. That person is going to set you back. And when I say set you back, I mean they're going to affect your iman, they're going to affect your physical health, your mental health, all of it. So instead of progressing, you're going to go backwards because now you're declining rather than improving. That's what happens when you choose the wrong person. Okay? Now, it's not a disaster if you get it wrong the first time, second time. Alhamdulillah, Allah gives us the mercy and the blessing of divorce so we can find a better replacement, right? We can get a better husband or wife so we can continue that life journey. But when you decide to continue your life journey with someone who is so toxic, they're cheating on you, they are disrespecting you, they are narcopaths, how far are you going to get? You're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere, mate. You're going backwards. okay? You're going backwards. And the evidence for this is look at your well-being. Look at your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health. Has it got better since being with this person or worse? Ask yourself. Now, I understand, again, like people can't get out of these marriages. It's very difficult. So you have even more hard work to do to maintain a decent level of well-being, being around someone like that, okay? So this is something you really need one-to-one counselling and coaching for, because everyone's case is different. If you need help with it, just drop me an email and I can coach you through it, inshallah. I can coach you through how to deal with living with these people and how to maintain your sanity and a decent level of nafs. So if you're not married, I really pray that this advice gives you some inspiration to invest wisely when you choose someone. And if you feel like you're not healed, then do reach out to a counsellor or therapist. You can reach out to me or any other person who specialises in this. I do recommend that you go to Muslim therapists and deal with it. Do the inner work to deal with this so that you can elevate and come out of the sadness and grief of being lonely. Because you will honestly just come across people who will waste your time. When people know that you're lonely and that you are desperate to get married, I promise you, you're going to get so many people come your way who will waste your time. People will freak out. Men will freak out if they are empathic people who have not healed. So you might come across someone who is a low-level empath / codependent, and he's a nice guy. And you really like him and you think, yeah, I could actually have a future with this man. And you get to know this man and everything is going great. And then you say to him, we need to get families involved. I need you to meet my family. I want to meet your family. We need to get a nikah done. And now he freaks out. He's not ready. He's not ready for another marriage. He might be a nice person, but he freaks out at the thought of going into another marriage when he's not healed. So if you come across someone and you know that they're not healed, don't jump into marriage with them and don't nag them for marriage. If a woman starts nagging a man for marriage, it's game over. You are finished. The relationship is already finished. When a woman starts nagging a man to get married, you're finished. He is not the one. Any man you need to nag to get a nikah done is not the right man for you. He doesn't want to get married to you. He's not that into you. It should be the opposite. It should be the man pursuing the woman and being excited to get married to her and provide for her and, offer her a lifestyle that he's proud to have her be in. So it's really important for men to heal from their traumas in order for them to enjoy and be excited about getting married again. If you're not healed, you're not going to be excited about it. You're going to worry about everything. You're going to worry about another divorce. You're going to worry about having more children and having them taken away. There's just so many things that you're going to worry about. The gaslighting, the trauma. Am I going to get it wrong again? Is she manipulating me? Is she a covert narc? Am I going to see her real face after marriage? Does she want me because she's got no children? Does she want me because of her age? They're going to start thinking like that and men freak out. Even the good men will freak out when you lay it on thick and be the ones to chase and pursue them. So what if you find a nice guy? That's basic minimum. A lot of women will latch on to a man just because he's nice. Because for the last 20 years, they've been in a horrid marriage with a narcopath who wasn't nice to them. So when you come out of a toxic marriage and you come across a man who is nice, could be covert narc or could be an empath or could be a codependent, you will latch on to that person because you just can't believe you've come across someone who is nice. This is basic minimum, guys. This should not be a standard that you list in your requirements for a husband or wife. If they're a Muslim, then they have to be nice. If they're a Muslim, they need to be understanding and compassionate and loving and patient and all of these things. It comes with being a Muslim. So if someone does not know how to practice Islam properly in their character, forget them. Don't even bother considering someone like that. But to write kindness as a requirement in your list, you are already lowering the bar. You need to be asking yourself questions like, do I feel safe around this person? Can this person provide for me? Can this person look after me? Is this person mature enough to communicate with? Is this person someone who can raise children well? Is this person sensible? Is this person traditional? So if you want a traditional marriage where a man is a full provider and you stay at home, is he okay with that? Is he on board with that? Because now you find loads of men who want the 50-50 arrangement. Now you find men who don't want to be providers. And this is another problem that I'll come on to, where lots of empathic women who are celibate and they stay single for a long time, they end up focusing on their careers, right? They end up focusing on their careers and they make loads of money. They might buy a house and they might do really well for themselves because they've got nothing else. They don't have children. They don't have the responsibility of a husband. So they put all their energy into their career. They get branded as feminists by lots of men who don't want to marry them because they find that these women are more accomplished than they are. These women have done more in their career and for their future than these men have. So they brand them as feminist. They're secretly jealous of you, by the way. And the only way they can bring you down is by saying, who is going to marry a woman in her 30s, 40s and 50s who's a feminist? But you're not a feminist. You've just chosen to use your time wisely and work on your career because you don't have the responsibility of looking after a family. So stay away from men who have that mindset and they're quick to brand you as being feminist just because you've got your life together and you've built something for yourself. However, one thing that you need to be aware of is that these women who have accomplished a lot during their years of being single will attract the man children who want mothers, okay? And they see you as someone who can look after them financially as well. So there will be a lot of nice guys, very slimy, sneaky snakes who will slither into your life because they see someone who is very accomplished and they will approach you as a man who is supportive of your career and building your empire. Why? Because he's going to benefit from that financially. So he's going to be a really nice guy, really hands-on. He might do loads of things for you, but he's lazy. He's not a hard worker. He's not really got a career. He might be broke. He might not have anything to offer you. But because he's so nice and you haven't come across a nice man in a very long time, you take him on. You take him on because you're now thinking, this is my only and best chance of getting married. He's nice, he's not abusive. Okay, so I have to be the provider, I have to be the breadwinner. So be it. That's what these women start to think. Because the guy is good looking. Usually these guys are very handsome, by the way. And they are charmers. And they're nice. They know how to treat a woman. They're very romantic. They bring you flowers. They do all those nice things for you. And an empath woman melts. Not the high level, the mid to low level. She will melt. Because a high level empathic woman will not accept a man like this who comes with nothing. A high level empathic woman will require a man to come with a great offer for her to accept him. She's not going to be wanting to provide for him and baby him and mother him. That's not what a high level empathic woman does or accepts for herself. Okay, again, because she's healed. But this woman, who could be a boss babe, right? She could be a CEO of a company. She could be doing loads of things for herself. She will accept this type of man because he's very supportive of her career. She feels like, wow, okay, he's not threatened by my achievements. He's not intimidated by my strength and my success and my, the empire that I've built. He's not intimidated. He actually wants to jump on board and support me. He does that for a reason, honey. He does that so he can completely rinse you of everything that you have built. Trust me, that devaluation stage is coming. And he will cheat on you with someone else, much younger, when he has managed to benefit off your back. That's what's going to happen. I promise you. I promise you. I have not met one woman who has come across a man like this, who has not cheated her and completely deceived her. There are exceptions to the rule when this type of man is empathic, but it's extremely rare. So if you are a woman who has achieved a lot, be very alert and aware that you're going to attract a lot of these very handsome, young man children who are looking for a woman to look after them. Okay? So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that before I forget that point. But yeah, going back to the women who meet men who freak out, it's a problem. Okay, it's a problem when you come across men who are time wasters because they haven't healed or because they're narcissistic. So be very wary of that. Now, there are some women who fear marriage. They stay single because they have a fear of marriage. They have a fear of being abused. You need therapy for this as well. Get the one-to-one help for this. Because if you do not unlock that fear of marriage, you may lose great opportunities. A lot of women and men, they come across great people in their lives, but because they fear abuse, they're always paranoid, they don't trust anybody. They are unable to open their heart to someone coming into their life. This is something that you need to resolve in therapy because it happens a lot. And I don't blame people who are put in that situation, especially if you've been through abuse. You will be terrified of going through that again and being deceived again. So if you're in that situation, do get the therapy and help for that, okay? So you don't miss out on great opportunities in your future. Studies show, and also from my own experience, I've seen that women are more active in their healing journey than men are, which means that women are more likely to go to therapy, counselling and coaching, and men just tend to bottle up their emotions, bottle up their problems because they feel a sense of shame when they go to someone to help them sort their problems out, even though there's no shame in it at all. And sometimes it really does help having the perspective of a third party or someone else who can guide you, okay? So when the majority of people who have healed are women, it becomes even more difficult now to find a marriage partner, and men tend to feel that the women are picky, right? They're being too picky. And it's only because women pick up on the red flags and they can see that a man is not healed from his previous experience. And it just puts women off. It can happen vice versa as well. Sometimes a man will get to know a woman and he will find that she's still angry, still bitter about her past experience. Maybe she's not over her ex. Maybe she doesn't trust men. Maybe she's always suspicious of what he says and believes that he's just love bombing her or lying, all of those manipulation tactics. If she's always thinking that that's what men are doing, she's not healed. Because if she was healed, she would be able to think with clarity and recognize red flags, okay? It's good to be careful. I would obviously advise everyone to be very careful, but you would know if someone is love bombing you and if someone's genuine when you heal. And you will know that you've healed because you're no longer choosing someone out of loneliness. And you'll find that empathic men who have healed will not want to be with a woman who makes them feel that she only wants to be with them because of her age, because she's desperate to have children, because she's lonely. It puts empathic men off. And then women receive the excuse that he no longer wants to pursue because he's not feeling it. And then women get upset, but not realizing that it's because he's picked up on the fact that she's not healed yet. So when it comes to women, the main complaint is that he's still bitter, he's still angry about his ex. Maybe she's depleted him of finances and now he's not got much to offer. Maybe he's worried about having more children or getting a legal marriage. All of these things that a woman may want, she finds that she's left to deal with the leftovers that the ex has left behind. She's left behind a very broken man and he's got nothing much to offer. She's taken everything, like in the divorce. She took the house, she took his business, she took everything. She took the children. So not only is he depressed because he feels like he's lost everything, he's also starting from scratch. Okay, he might be in his 30s and 40s. He may have really built himself something before. He may have bought a house and everything, but now finds himself as if he were a 19-year-old, starting from the beginning. So this can be a turn-off for a lot of women as well, because they don't want to deal with someone else's leftovers. And that's why it's so important to take the time out to heal and rebuild, especially if you're a man, because you will lose good opportunities if you come across good women and you're not stable financially, you're not stable emotionally or mentally. You're still very bitter over everything you lost and you're struggling to rebuild. So take the time out to rebuild so that when you do meet a good woman, you have everything in place, right, to the best of your ability. And you will only lose if you're talking to a good woman and you say to her, look, my ex took everything. I'm not going to buy a house again. I'm not going to do this again or that again because I got nothing out of it. And I'm only prepared to go 50-50 with a woman now. I'm not prepared to do what I did in my last marriage. You know how many women hear that? Loads of women hear this, that, oh, I'm going to learn my lesson from last time and not do all those things again because I lost it all. And you didn't lose it all because you got married. You lost it all because you were married to a narcissist. So when you're married to a good woman, inshallah, you're not going to lose. You're going to invest and you're going to gain. So don't go into a second or third marriage with that mindset. You're going to ruin so many things for yourself. And just like I said, just take the time out to heal, to build, and to sort out your child custody arrangement with your ex, whether you're a man or a woman. Get something stable in place, get your financial stability back, and inshallah, things will be okay. You don't need to miss out on a great marriage just because you've lost a lot in one before, okay? And women, stop thinking that every man is out to get you, that every man is love bombing you. Not every man is manipulating you, but when you're not healed, you will not know the difference. You will just brand every man as being the same, okay? And this leads me to talk about another problem, which is when women do not find healed Muslim men and they've been single for a very long time, they may actually get involved with men who are not Muslim. Again, this can happen with men too. So I see a lot of empathic men who marry non-Muslim women. They marry Christians and Jews and you know, people of the book, as they say. And in many cases, these people are not people of the book. I'm going to record a podcast, inshallah, after this one about who they are, who the people of the book are, and the Islamic ruling on marrying them. So it will be a follow-up to this podcast, inshallah, because it is a major issue at the moment. And so going back to the issue, lots of Muslim women are considering marriage to non-Muslims who treat them so much better, who have healed and who have rebuilt their lives. And this comes as a result of them losing their iman, okay? So a lot of women, like I said, they end up losing their iman. They take off their hijab, they become less and less practicing because celibacy and being single for such a long time is really taking a toll on their faith levels and their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they start to consider non-Muslim men, they start dating non-Muslim men, get involved with non-Muslim men, and then end up marrying them. Now, there are imams in the UK who do facilitate marriages between Muslim women and Christian men and Jewish men. And the reason for it is because of the lack of suitable Muslim men for the single women. And as we know, there are so many single women now. Spinsterhood has become a major issue in our ummah, especially in the West. And it's a way to tackle the problem. Okay, so some imams say that it's best for a woman to marry someone from a Jewish or Christian background than for her to be committing zina. They do not consider it to be zina if she is being saved from something more evil. So again, I will discuss this inshallah in the next podcast. But over 100,000 Muslim women in the UK have had official nikah ceremonies with people of the book. And this in itself can be a huge problem. Okay, it's a huge problem to the future generations of Muslim children and also to the iman of a Muslim woman. So I will discuss this in more detail later. But the rise in narcissism amongst Muslim men has pushed a lot of women to consider non-Muslim men for marriage. This is a real problem. And it's the same, like I said, it's the same with men too. I'm seeing a lot of really nice, really empathic Muslim men, and they're not married to Muslim women. They're not. Because they're really struggling to find Muslim women who are empathic, God-fearing, attractive, educated and not from a very heavy cultural background in which the requirements for marriage are insane. Okay, like the financial requirements and just everything that goes into it. It's, living with in-laws and having 3 weddings and all of that. It's just too much for a lot of men who are very simple. So they prefer to marry women who are not Muslim to save themselves from all of that headache and hassle. So this adds fuel to the problem of why empathic men and women cannot marry each other and cannot find each other. It's because they are looking for a simpler solution to get them out of a life of celibacy. However, when they marry non-Muslims, many of them fall into deeper problems that I'll discuss later. But I just wanted to highlight that this is one of the consequences of being a single Muslim empath, that when you give up and when your iman starts to deplete, you start to get yourself involved in relationships with non-Muslims and marriages with non-Muslims. And when I say non-Muslims, I mean the empaths among them. Okay, I'm not talking about the narcissists among them. Women and men are gravitating towards relationships with non-Muslims because they are finding more love, care, compassion and empathy with them than they are in Muslim societies with Muslim men and Muslim women. So if they are to choose between empathic non-Muslims and narcissistic Muslims, the majority are going to choose the empathic non-Muslims if their faith is not very strong. So a high-level empath will not settle for less than someone who has the same, deen and values and principles and all of that. But people who are low to mid-level empaths, they may compromise on this for the sake of just having someone who is empathic, someone they can feel safe with. And some women have told me that the non-Muslim men they have met in their lives have been more religious, right? More moral than the Muslims whom they had come across. So it's a dilemma. It's a real dilemma. But I just wanted to highlight this because it is an issue. It is an actual problem right now in our ummah. And long-term celibacy can cause many people to step out of the faith and look for a partner so that they can have a family and they can have children and they can live a somewhat normal life. Okay, they want to experience love and intimacy and everything. And sometimes the only options they come across are empathic non-Muslims. So it's important that this is discussed so that imams and scholars can come up with solutions for these people, inshallah. You also get women who are pressured to get married to people who are narcissistic by their families because their families now believe they're getting old. Men or women, people might tell their sons, you're getting old. You don't have any children. Marry your cousin. Marry my friend's daughter. Marry this, marry that. And you get the pressure of having to enter a relationship you don't want to engage in because you can spot the signs that those people are narcissistic. Now, if you refuse to get married to the people whom your parents keep bringing for you, it can cause a rift in your relationship with them. They might now start their narcissistic abuse on you. They might even disown you. They might say, oh, you're useless, you're hopeless. Look, your brother married someone nice, your sister married someone nice, but you think you're too good for everybody? You think you're God's gift to the world? Who do you think you are? Marry your cousin or I'll never forgive you. Marry your cousin or I will die in depression because my son did not get married and did not give me the pleasure of seeing my grandchildren from him, before I die. Oh, they'll lay that on. So if you're someone, again, going through these problems where you don't want to marry the narcissistic people they present to you as options, and you find yourself in even greater problems, then again, one-to-one counselling and coaching can help you through this. At the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids forced marriage. And if you feel like you're being blackmailed and guilt-tripped for not marrying whom your parents want you to marry because you prefer to stay single until you find the right person, then get a mediator involved. Again, this could be the local imam, it could be an elder in the family, it could be a family friend, someone who is trusted and wise. Bring them into the situation so that the issue can get resolved, inshallah. Now, another problem that people will find if they're not getting pressured by family members and friends is to go online to find someone And there are loads of options. Okay, so low to mid-level empaths will always find loads of options because people always gravitate towards those who have empathy. But they find that 95% of the options are narcs. Okay, a variety of them. The religious one, the man-child, the liberal one, the one who doesn't know whether he wants to be a man or a woman, all of them, okay? You'll come across all of them. So if you wanted to get married, you could, but you'll end up picking from the swamp, okay? And this is why I advise people to not go on dating and marriage apps because they are a narcissist playground. That's where they go for hookups, that's where they go for rebounds, that's where they go for instant validation and looking for instant new supply. It's the best place for them to be on, okay? So try your best to avoid these apps. I know it's hard to find people in person. I'll come on to that shortly. But if you want to heal, you need to get off the apps because you will honestly lose the will to live being on those apps and swiping through so many toxic people and their criminal mugshots and photos that don't even look like them anyway, right? You're just wasting your time. And the more you stay on these apps, the more you're going to feel depressed that there's no one decent out there. And so you now think everyone's a narcissist because that's your pool of options. That's all you're seeing. You'll think no one can be trusted. You get ghosted all the time. You know, you'll be having great conversation with someone for a few weeks and then poof, they're gone. Or they found someone else. Or you find that they're actually married. And it just adds to your trauma. So I advise that anyone who's going through a healing journey right now, get off the apps. Get off the apps because they don't help. They make things a lot worse. You really will lose a lot of hope being on apps and seeing the vile people on there. And so many people have been reporting lately that loads of people on these Muslim marriage apps are after zina, right? They're all after sexual hookups. They want the Muslim version of Tinder. And it's just not worth being on there. It's not the right way to meet someone. And like I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send your rizq in the way He wants it to come. So it's already been written. If you are meant to get married and have children, have a family with someone amazing, Allah's already written how you're going to meet that person. So even if you delete the app, you think that that person is no longer going to find you because you're not on the app. Ridiculous. That person will find you because Allah has already written how that person is going to find you. Even if you delete the app, that person will find you because they weren't meant to meet you through the app. Okay? Have that iman, have that tawakkul. Some women say, but we're not seen. We're always at home. Men don't see us. We're not exposed in any way. We're not on Instagram. We don't have our pictures. So how do men see us? Allah will send you that person. Allah will send that person. You'll be amazed at how randomly people pop up in areas of your life that you never thought could be possible. I have a friend who met her husband on a park bench. She went to sit there and he came and sat down next to her and she was reading a book. He commented on the book and they got talking and now they're married. And I also have a friend who met her husband in the supermarket. She was a single mother. She had a 3-year-old daughter at the time and he commented on how cute she was. They just got talking. They're married. So subhanAllah, Allah put that little girl in that situation as a wasila, as a vessel for her to find her future husband. He just commented on how cute her little girl was. And that was it. That was the start of a conversation. And now, alhamdulillah, they're happily married. So the person will come into your life in a natural way. Okay, you don't have to degrade yourself by being on these apps. You don't have to plaster your photos everywhere for every Tom, Dick and Harry to see and share with their friends and all of that. You don't need to do any of that. Because that's what people do, by the way. They take screenshots of your pictures and send them to their friends. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, look at this woman I've just met on Muzmatch. What do you think? And he'll be like, nah, bruv, don't even go there. That's my ex-wife, man. And then she'll get a vicious text message from him. What are you doing on Muzmatch? Oh, my friends are seeing you on Muzmatch. She'll get harassed by text messages about it. So, yeah, don't put yourself in a position where you're, you're allowing your photos to just like float around freely because you're worried about not meeting someone. Honestly, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has willed it, you will meet him in the most random place. Or you'll meet her in a library or a shop or maybe a cafe. You might sit at her table and a conversation will strike up. You just never know. You never know. And sometimes you do have to get rid of that shyness a bit, because if you're sitting somewhere and you see a nice empathic man come to sit next to you or at the same table, and he strikes up a conversation, don't shut it down. I find that a lot of women, they do shut down a lot of opportunities because of their excessive shyness. So sometimes it can help to be a little bit friendly and just do it within halal means. Like, make it clear that, you're not intending to date or get into a relationship or anything, but leave yourself open to talking to people when they approach you. Now, I'm not talking about the sleazy Arabs who approach you on Oxford Street, who are in their 40s and asking you for your Snapchat like they are 10. You do not give those people the time of day. So be sensible in regards to who you allow to speak to you, and avoid people who approach you in uncomfortable situations, like in the middle of the street, or people who just follow you around until they get your number or your Snapchat. Yeah, just stay away from people like that. These are predators, okay? They are predators. I had a man follow me around for 2 hours once in Harrods. I would see him everywhere I went. Like, I almost thought I was hallucinating. And this was after I told him to go away. So be careful of people like that, because there are plenty of weirdos, especially in cities. So moving on to another problem that a lot of empathic women and men face, it's the sadness that they feel when they believe that their youth and beauty are slipping away. Literally being flushed down the toilet because you feel like you cannot enjoy your youth and beauty and halal with someone who would appreciate it, right? And so this can often cause women in particular to feel really low, especially when they wear hijab, okay? When these women cover properly and they can't show their beauty. It's really hard, and it can be so depressing to feel like your youthful years are slipping away because you can't go out without hijab. So even if you could go out without hijab, you'd get the validation and admiration and compliments from people, right, who see you in your full glory. But when you are a practicing Muslimah, you can't do that. And people will more often than not ignore you. They don't look at you, maybe out of respect or because, you're not out in your full glory. You're not out in a nice dress and you've got your hair nicely done. You're not experiencing that. And this is a real hardship for women who wear hijab and they are single and celibate for a very long time. I promise you, this is jihad an-nafs. This is jihad an-nafs, because you are choosing the pleasure of Allah over your own validation. Okay? Now, loads of women will go to women's parties where they can dress up and, be feminine and all of that. But it's not the same as receiving that validation and admiration from a man. And that's what makes it so hard. So you get women all the time going to gatherings, but they don't get that satisfaction from it like they would with a man whom they really like and whom they really love. And then what happens with that, and this wiswas, okay, this comes from intrusive thoughts, that your qareen starts telling you you're getting old. You look old. You look like a granny in that hijab. You look too strict. You look too conservative. No one's going to marry you. No one's going to want you. All the women who don't wear hijab are getting snapped up for marriage and you're being left behind. And sometimes women fall for that waswas. And then they start taking their hijab off out of hope that it will increase their chances in getting married. This is why it's very difficult for women to keep it on when they've been single for so long. Women will really struggle with keeping their hijab on the longer they are single. So it's very easy to judge women who do that. Oh, look at her, she took her hijab off. She wasn't as religious as we thought. Oh, she's this, oh, she's that. She must be engaging and no good. Haram to say that. Because you're not experiencing the same hardship she is experiencing. Okay? There will come a point in time where women will hit their 40s and 50s and they will feel so unattractive because they're being compared to Instagram models, and they're being compared to the women who can go out in public without hijab on in their full beauty, they will start to feel really unattractive. They'll start to feel ugly. I'll tell you something funny. I went to the farmer's market once and a Turkish guy approached me and he said to me, "Are you Turkish?" I said, "No." I said, "Why do you ask?" And he said, "Okay, I thought you were Turkish because in my country, the only women who cover like you are the grandmothers." And I'm just like, thanks, mate, for that. Thank you so much. That's just made my day. So sometimes it's the men who can make women feel like they're old or unattractive or very grandma-ish because he's not used to seeing young Muslim women covered. So he found it strange that a young woman would cover like his grandmother covers. Now, obviously, he's a liberal Muslim, but what I'm saying is that we're seeing a lot more Muslim men who are not appreciative and they don't value the women who cover as much as they used to. So they lean more towards the non-hijabi women who go out in all their glory because they are more attractive. They do look more attractive. So they are more likely to pursue women whom have that beauty than women who completely cover it. Like I said, we live in a completely different generation where men have different values. And they say they want hijabi women who are conservative and pious and modest, but in reality, they want the Barbie girls. And they are more likely to be accepting of marrying Barbie girls out of hope that these men could get a hijab on that Barbie girl later. And this is wrong because now you're going to force her into wearing hijab because you want to mold her into the wife you need her to be. She's not going to be the wife you need to be because you and her have different values. So, this is just something to consider because I find that a lot of women don't take care of themselves enough. I'm talking about the hijabi women, and that's why Barbie girls have an advantage over them. Now, I'm not saying to go out, sexualizing the hijab and glamorizing it and all of that. Now, what I'm saying is just look after yourself more. You will have more chances of catching the eye of someone who is suitable for you if you take care of yourself so that you can shine in your feminine the same way a lot of narcs do. This is the advantage narc women and narc men have over empaths. You see, the narc men are more appealing to empathic women because they look after themselves, right? They look good, they're well groomed, they go to the gym, they've got nice physiques. So even if he's got a bad character, he's already got his foot in the door because he looks good. And it's the same with narc women. Narc women get their foot in the door before a man has any chance to assess her character because she knows how to be very feminine and how to take care of herself. So if you just take that on as a Muslim woman, a lot of Muslim women who are single for a long time step into their masculine a lot because they're in survival mode. So maybe you're working overtime to make ends meet because you've got no provider. Maybe you've got children whom you need to provide for and you're taking care of them and now you're the mum and the dad at the same time. You'll become very masculine in your energy and you won't have time to take care of yourself and step into the feminine. And then what happens is that men start to see you as very masculine. And like I said, you will only attract the man-child here because he's not looking for a wife, he's looking for a parent to look after him. So one way you can get out of the depression of not finding anyone or people not finding you attractive is to work on your feminine. And men, work on your masculine. Because even empathic women who are God-fearing and they're pious want men who look good. We want men who go to the gym. We want men who have the advantage of looking as good as narcissists, but with good character. The same way you men want good-looking women who are smoking hot and they're pious and they're empathic and they are just wonderful people to be around. Wouldn't it be great if you can merge the two together? But the main problem that empaths find is that when they meet other empaths, the men are so out of shape or very overweight, and the women, the same. Their skin is bad, they're overweight, their choice of clothing is so bad, or they're very masculine. This is a problem a lot of empaths are finding in each other. And that is why they do not marry each other. they gravitate more towards the narcissists who are more appealing physically. Okay, I have a friend. She was a single mother of 4 children. Okay, their father actually abandoned them, and she went through a really rough time looking after them, but she never neglected her physical appearance. She is beautiful, mashallah. Okay, even after 4 children, like, she's managed to hold on to her feminine nature. So she managed to attract a man who fell head over heels in love with her, married her, and took on her children. He is now an amazing father to her children. He's younger than her as well. And mashallah, he takes care of her from A to Z, financially, physically, everything, because she held on to her feminine nature. That's the secret. Okay, men have to hold on to their alpha masculine nature and make some effort to look good and stay fit and look healthy and just be in shape. And women, look after yourselves. You will find a man easily if you are pious, you are God-fearing, you are a wonderful person and you have so much going for you. Don't let your lack of self-care drag you down and keep you single for longer than necessary. Because you could go out to the park, you could go out to the supermarket, and you might catch the eye of a man who is so drawn to your feminine energy. That's how you fix it. Give yourself a half-decent chance of finding someone when you go out by presenting yourself in a good way. If you're overweight, do your best to lose the weight. If you're too skinny, put some weight on. If you have bad skin, invest in decent skincare. If you're not wearing the right clothes and colours for your body and your skin tone, just go to places like Selfridges, Harrods, and you can get consultations for things like this. You will be told what clothes look good on your body shape and all of that, so that you just have a half-decent chance at attracting someone really nice. Because I'm telling you, even the empathic men want a beautiful wife. Even the empathic women want a handsome husband. Okay, if you meet a really nice woman and you are really out of shape and you get rejected, you're going to feel like garbage. Okay, when you could have fixed that. So before you start meeting people, before you even think of getting married, fix these things first. Otherwise, you will just start talking to people out of loneliness and it will go nowhere. You will just spend so many hours, so many weeks, so many months just chatting to people online, and it goes nowhere because you're not confident in your own body. You're not confident in your own skin and you haven't healed yet. So can you see how all of these things will hinder your progress in finding an empathic person to marry? Okay, so don't waste opportunities when there are things that can be fixed. So someone asked me a question last week about whether or not it is good to share health issues and traumas with someone they meet. And I would say you've got to be careful with the information you share with people, because if you've listened to my previous podcast, you will know that I'm really against you giving away your secrets to people who could use them against you. So childhood traumas and things like that, wait a bit before you give away too much information about traumas, because if they get into the hands of a narcissist, he or she will milk that. Okay, they will really take advantage of that and use that information to abuse you. So once you feel safe with someone and you establish that, okay, this person is an empath, this person is definitely not a narcissist, and if you feel like you want to share childhood traumas because it will help them to understand you more, it will help them to know how to communicate with you and deal with you, then go ahead, right? Go ahead. Just don't go into too much detail. Don't make that person turn into your therapist. Okay, so try and avoid that. Keep the therapy with the therapist. Don't turn your husband or wife into your therapist. Share some things here and there that you find are important, but don't divulge your entire life history and all the details about your ex and everything horrible they did to you and everything horrible you did to them. There's no need. Your ex, bury that in the past. Don't even talk about your ex. If you have to talk about your ex, let it be something meaningful that adds some benefit to the conversation. But if you're just going to moan about your ex and how horrible they were, there's no need. People don't want to hear it. Empaths don't want to hear it. High-level empaths absolutely don't want to hear it. So all that toxic garbage, just leave it in the past. Bury it, let it fly with the wind. You don't need to visit that again. When you meet someone new and they are a wonderful person, then just start a new chapter in your story, okay? Don't keep dragging the past up in your new relationship. Just enjoy this new chapter in your life and make the most of it. So that's the advice I can give you in regards to that. Now, in regards to disclosing illnesses, yes, Islamically you need to do that. So, for example, if someone has diabetes or they've had cancer before, it's really important that you disclose that, because if the cancer were to come back, God forbid, or you need injections for your diabetes, or your diabetes affects your life somehow, then they need to know, okay? Because it now becomes up to them if they want to accept that or not. And there's nothing wrong with that in Islam. If they decide to not pursue because they don't want to deal with someone who's got diabetes or cancer, or, maybe they know that they are people who just wouldn't be able to handle it. It would be too much emotional stress for them, and they just wouldn't be able to deal with, losing someone to an illness, especially if they've had it before. So don't be upset if people can't deal with it. It's totally fine. But yes, do disclose it. And you will also find that people in their 30s, 40s and 50s will have health issues if they have been in abusive relationships before. So like I've said before in previous podcasts, narc abuse can give you physical illnesses like digestive problems, okay, IBS, Crohn's disease. It can cause hair loss. It can cause someone to have lupus, which makes them tired all the time, or they have autoimmune diseases that require injections and, regular visits to the hospital. So you've got to be honest about those kinds of things, because, like I said, Islamically, it's important to reveal these things so that someone can either accept them and be prepared for them, or decide to not pursue. And also disclose if you have an issue having children, if you know that. So if you have, for example, PCOS, and doctors have told you that there's a very high chance that you may never have children, it's important to disclose that to somebody who really wants children. So don't let that be a hindrance. The right person will accept you for who you are. It doesn't matter what illness you have or what issues you may feel could be a hindrance. If you're honest about them, the right person will still accept you for them. Okay, there are loads of people who are okay with someone having various illnesses. It hasn't stopped them from marrying a person who is of great character and who is great company for them. Okay, so don't worry about that. You really have to let go of the fear of people not wanting you because you have XYZ issues. If they are issues that are out of your hands, then that will be left to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay? Leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to deal with, because it's out of your hands, it's out of your control now, okay? But if the issues are in your hands, like losing weight, yes, then you will be responsible for putting people off you if you're too lazy to do the work to improve your health, improve your finances, improve your quality of life and so on. So if you're a man, don't accept a high quality woman to accept you if you don't earn very much, or if you're broke, and if you're not really working towards providing a better lifestyle for yourself. You're going to lose out on good women, because hard work is attractive. Men who are ambitious is attractive. So it doesn't mean that you have to be wealthy and provide a luxurious lifestyle as a good offer, right, for a woman to marry. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is hard work pays off. Hard work is attractive to women who do the work themselves to get to where they need to be in life. Okay, so if she's a hardworking woman, she's going to value a hardworking man. If she goes to the gym, she's going to appreciate a man who goes to the gym and takes care of his health and so on. So yeah, just disclose the things that are important and the things that are minor, things that you can work on. Inshallah, as long as you work on them, you don't need to disclose every tiny detail. So I hope that's helped, inshallah. I hope that's given you some clarity on what you need to do, maybe given you some tips on how you can improve your life, and just get involved in activities, Maybe go back to hobbies that you had before, or try new hobbies and activities. Go to lectures where you can meet like-minded people. Choose activities and things to do where you will find people who are your kind of people, right? So, for example, if you like horse riding, go to horse riding clubs. If you like art, go to art clubs, and try and find the clubs that are in areas where there is a Muslim population, and you'll meet people there as well. I really believe that everyone will meet someone in the way they are meant to, okay? So don't stress yourself over things like this. Don't overburden yourself with thoughts that are so depressing, like, I fear I'm going to die alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of you. Don't have that fear. The fear of dying alone is not in your hands. That's a future thing, right? That's a matter for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only Allah knows what's going to happen in the future. Just make dua. Make dua that you never do die alone. Make dua for that wonderful husband or wife. Okay, dua goes a long way. And in the meantime, work on yourself. Work on improving yourself. Go out and have fun. Go out with friends. Go out and try new restaurants. Go out and try new activities and things. Yeah, go and do these things. Go on trips. Travel if you can. Go and see the world. And as long as you're doing everything within halal means, you'll be absolutely fine. You'll get everything coming to you. Even if you don't meet the right person, you will still be enjoying your life. And you will still be around people who are single in the same situation as you, and you will support each other. That's the wonderful thing about empathic men and women. You can group together and form amazing friendships. And they can sometimes compensate for not having a life partner because they're there for you. They're there in the same boat as you. They are also unable to find or meet empathic men or empathic women. So you stick together, you form a group, and you just do loads of things together, like traveling and it's a lot of fun. You lift each other up on your bad days. You've got friends who are like-minded, who can give you that kind of support. So people have asked me, what can I do on my bad days? You ensure that you have a good friendship circle. Don't isolate yourself entirely. I mean, there are some people who enjoy being hermits, right? They're really introverted and they love being at home. There's nothing wrong with that. If you find your joy in being at home, that's great. Maybe get yourself some pets, maybe, start an online business. There's always so much to do that keeps you away from the depression and the intrusive thoughts of the qareen. You can engage in that higher level of nerves if you want to. You can exercise self-discipline in many areas of your life, and you can work on yourself. Working on yourself is a load of fun. Honestly, once you start going to the gym and you start doing the things that you want to do, even if it's like home renovation, if you're an introvert, if you don't really feel like going out and socializing a lot, do things like that. Work on your garden, work on your house, work on anything that you might enjoy. There's always so much to do. And the most important thing that I want to tell you is sometimes, and this is deep, okay? Take a minute to really process this, because it's one of the most beautiful things you could hear that will give you so much comfort and the strength to live through your single days, months, and years. Think about it this way. If you are single and you are empathic and you are a pious person and you do everything you can to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you don't harm anyone, you're not an oppressor, you're a good person, take into account that sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps you single for a specific period of time because He wants you all to Himself before He sends you the right person. Because Allah knows that when the right person comes to you, you're going to be very busy with them. You're going to be pouring a lot of love into them, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of attention. And the things that you used to do before, maybe tahajjud, extra fasting because you're not married, extra Quran at night, charity, all of those things that you would do because you had the free time to do them, they are now being decreased because your attention is being put elsewhere. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps empaths single for a time He prescribes because He wants you to Himself in that time. He wants you to focus on your ibadah, on your worship. He wants you to understand that this is the time that you need to heal and reconnect with Him and form a very strong connection with Him. Okay? A lot of people waste this opportunity when they're single. They don't look at it this way. But when you look at it this way, you'll get so many blessings and Allah will send that right person to you. Even if it means changing your qadr with the dua. Okay, so the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the only thing that can change your qadr, your divine decree in your future, is dua. And the best way of you achieving that change of qadr is by forming a very strong relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you have the time, energy, and space to do it. Okay, you don't have a husband nagging you every 5 minutes to make breakfast or dinner, and kids who are nagging you every 5 minutes because they need your attention. You have been given the blessing of luxury in time, energy, and space to establish a very strong connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the people who take advantage of this time are the people who become the high-level empaths, and then Allah puts them in touch with other high-level empaths. And they could be friends. It doesn't have to be a husband or wife. They could be people who are like-minded. But like I said, if that's what you really want, your dua can change the qadr. Because your dua is not coming from a place of loneliness anymore. It's coming from a place of tawakkul. It's coming from a place of strength, because you have spent so much time investing in your relationship with Allah. It could be for 10 years. It could be 15 years. It's never a loss. Okay, I don't want you to look at it as a loss. That 15 years I haven't had a family. 15 years there's been no husband, no wife. You've gained Allah in those 15 years. Okay? You have an advantage over so many people who are married. Do you know how many married people wish to be single again, or wish to be in your shoes, or wish they could just take a 6-month break and be single again, just to get their life back? Do you know how many people wish that? Do you know how many people are going through so much abuse and just wish that they could go back to being single for the rest of their days? A lot of people do not realize the ni'mah, the blessing of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them. Okay, we really need to work on our tawakkul and our contentment, our rida. Our contentment with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed is always going to give us more. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you thank me, if you are grateful for what I give you, I will give you more. I will give you more. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Surah Ibrahim, verse 7. Okay? So, being in a state of gratitude will get you everything you want in life. You can even change your qadr if you live in a state of gratitude. And if you are grateful for the time that you have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and if you are grateful for being alone and not abused, alone and not taken advantage of, alone and not dealing with demons. When you come to the complete understanding of Allah's decree for you with a foundation of gratitude, that's when all the doors will open for you. Allah just wants you to establish a very strong connection with Him, because He knows very well that the type of person you would love to be with is that kind of person who has also done the work to establish a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or has already done that work. So in order for you to be able to be paired with these people who are high-level empaths, you need to have a certain connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a very special connection. And you will not find that person until Allah knows you have reached it. This is really important for you to understand, because it is the prerequisite that you need to be able to find your people. So when you get to a state of being so happy in your new relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you no longer feel the need to get married. Like, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, alhamdulillah, I'm actually okay on my own. I'm actually happy on my own. There's so much going on for me right now, and I'm feeling great about myself. Alhamdulillah, I'm okay with my life. I'm content. Once you reach that stage, that is when you know you've healed, and that is when you know that you have reached high-level empath status. Because you'll be happy regardless of what you have and don't have. You will see that your single years have now been an investment into your relationship with Allah. It's not been a loss, it's been a gain. You've gained Allah. Okay, you've gained Allah. You've not lost anything. What you've lost, or what you think you've lost, may not have been good for you. Maybe having children would have hindered your progress. Maybe having a husband would have hindered your progress. Maybe he would have got sick later down the line. Maybe you would have had disabled children. Maybe you would have had a difficult wife. Allah didn't give it to you for a reason. But because you are making the dua for Allah to give you a high-level empath, Allah has to prepare you for that empath. He has to prepare you. He's not going to give you that high-level empath just like that, while you're unhealed and lonely and crying every night because you're on your own. No, Allah says, no, you've got healing to do. You need to come back to me first, and then I'll give you that person. And if I don't give you that person, it's because you are strong enough to walk the path to Jannah alone, or with the friends that I will bless you with, because that will be more beneficial for your life than having a family, because I know that which you do not know. So all the love you would have given someone in a relationship, all the love that you gave someone in a previous relationship, all the care, the attention, all the pampering, all of that, pour it into yourself. Don't let it go to waste. You have the ability to give so much, but you're not finding anyone to give it to, and you're feeling depressed. Give it to yourself and give it to Allah. Pamper yourself, treat yourself. Spend money on yourself. Invest in your health. Invest in your relationship with Allah. Invest in your relationship with the empaths around you. Invest in your education. Invest in you building your life and your career and your home and your hobbies, your interests, your activities. Invest in all of that, and you'll find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open so many doors for you. Okay, your ultimate test in life is for you to battle your jihad an-nafs. Let this be your jihad an-nafs. Don't waste the opportunity of not leaving this dunya as a martyr. And always remember, whatever you do not get in this life, it's been saved for you in the next. So I'll end it here, inshallah, before I get emotional. I hope you found it beneficial, inshallah. Please don't forget to like it if you did. Please do share it with people whom you feel could really benefit from listening to this. You can find my book on Amazon, The Muslim Narcissist. You'll find so much information in there. That is the foundational content for all of these podcasts that are supplementary to the book. And as I said at the beginning, you can reach out to me for one-to-one counselling and coaching if you need it. So thank you for listening until now, if you're still with me. And until the next podcast, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.